I'm going to set a time limit of 13.5 minutes for this KRV. Get ready. Here it comes. The FB33 Bradley Bowie knife. Nut and Fancy tabletop. Now around the 2009, maybe it's 2010 time frame here in the knife show, I started using the term Hall of Fame blade for my favorite knives that I've reviewed. I think it's appropriate for this knife. There are several Spyderco fixed blades that I am totally enthusiastic about. For instance, Fred Perrin, maybe the Temperance 2. I do have a couple reservations on that one, but I still love the blade. The Phil Wilson, oh, competitive option coming on the table already. Love that knife. And now the FB33 Bradley Bowie. Some of my favorite Spyderco fixed blades, and there have been some others. I'm not going to mention them all. Now, if you subscribe to my Twitter feed, anytime I do a video, I will add it to the appropriate playlist, and you'll get a Twitter notification. I may do a separate tweet, maybe I won't, but it's a great way to keep up, by the way, with the channel, especially knife fans. Because as you see, sometimes knife reviews come fast and furious. It just depends on you guys if you watch them fast enough. If you don't, I really slow them down, and that's generally what I've had to do in the last few years. So keep up with it. You'll see that I'll add this knife, the FB33, to some really cool playlists. I don't know if I necessarily use the term Hall of Fame. I need to generate that whole playlist, but it qualifies. For instance, the looks, and we'll start there on the review. It is a classic, beautiful, timeless design. What I gravitate towards, actually, in pretty much all blades. Autos, folders, fixed blades. Tactical knives. I like classic, beautiful designs. Now, I do know Gail Bradley. I've known him for a couple years. I really like him. He's a gentleman. He's an awesome knife maker. He has a fascinating history. He was a cutting champion. And I think in some ways we share the same likes on fixed blade knives, judging from what I've seen him produce. And he and I have talked about it. If you look at the round table we had, and by the way, Phil Wilson was there too. Also super cool knife designer. I love learning from these guys, talking about their latest projects, and I'm really excited when they develop something this cool that I really dig. And I love Gail and everything, but if he produced something that wasn't so awesome, either I would not review it or I would give it a lower likability scale. Not everything will be a Hall of Fame design. That's the way it is. This one is, though. But back to the looks, and I'm going to spend some time with this. A classic Bowie design. I love Bowie knives. They're cool. They're functional. There's a reason they're still around. Good looking blade. And that'll take us to application. By the way, most of the Spyderco knives, if not all, will come with this super cool tiny pamphlet that will describe the knife. And I've shown this in other KRVs. I like that. And it says here, he had a client who was an elk hunter, avid outdoorsman. He wanted to design an all-purpose outdoor utility knife optimized for hunting related chores and field dressing game. Hence, this knife came into being. Well done, I will say. I call all that a woods blade. A medium stainless steel woods blade. Some of my favorite knives, by the way. Because this is something we can do all the realistic tasks up in the woods with. Kindling prep, food preparation, dressing game, just like you said. And incidentally, notice that there's no crevices to get blood and guts into. It's just a very clean design. Granted, you have some tubular rivets here that you're going to have to keep clean. But other than that, it's just a clean, elegant design. So woods blade, I always call it. Field dressing game, yep. I did not have the opportunity to do it. This is a loaner at this point. I am thinking about buying one, though. Adding it to the cast member clan here in the project just as a competitive option because it does so many things well. How about a tactical knife? No, I just think it lacks traction for that, so let's just bypass that altogether. Collectability, absolutely. It's just cool. It may gain in value, especially if it's discontinued. Gift knife, yep. Soldier blade, yeah, I think so. And a lot that will determine that will be the sheath. Can it be integrated into LBE? Well, you might want to consider the traction when we look at the other stuff. Weight. a reasonable 10.4 ounces. Reasonable. It's not the lightest out there, but it uses pretty thick stock. I'm talking the steel width here. That always adds weight. Obviously full tank, you can see that. Balance is excellent, about midpoint. Nice finger guard on the handle there. We'll visit that here in just a second. And the steel is something I don't know too much about. PSF 27, it is a spray formed tool steel. Very similar to powder metallurgy, I would think. The S series, the Carpenter steels, the Crucible metals, all of which have very evenly distributed carbides, very fine grain structure. They take an edge really well. They're not the easiest things to sharpen. They're very homogeneous. And this one, the PSF 27, has a very high carbon content. It's almost like a, and I haven't read this anywhere, I'm just totally guessing. It reminds me of a kind of a powder metallurgy D2. So it's 1.55% carbon, 12% chromium, falling just short of the threshold to be considered a stainless steel, so it could rust on you. It's just too expensive for me to go out and thrash it, and I've done it so much to so many other knives. I kind of think I know at least the geometry of the blade, how it will cut. The steel itself, again, I don't have any experience with it to this point. If I ever change and I go out and thump on PSF 27, maybe I get one of these, I do it. Let me know if you want a cutting test, I'll do it. There's probably some out there already, so you don't need me doing that. FFG, love that. Kind of has that vertical grind striation that Spyderco does. I kind of wish they would highly polish it. Maybe stone wash it, that would be cool too. Good belly here. Here's a look at the tip. For y'all, strong looking tip actually. Tapering there, kind of an unsharpened swedge on the top. It's just a beautiful blade. And notice how it kind of has a negative angle coming down from the handle. So it will present the edge to a flat cutting surface prior to the handle. I like that. 5-inch blade. So it's not a massive woods blade. If I were to have my preferences met in a man portable system like backpacking, usually I will take an ultra light fixed blade. Let's see, an example would be the A.G. Russell Trout. I've shown that on camera several times. The Nim Cub, and then maybe a really big survival knife. If you can't do that, a middleweight one like this could work. The handle, beautiful black G10. Perfect fitting, look at that. Tubular rivets, integrating a lanyard if you want to. I wish it was just slightly longer, maybe coming out to this point right here. I would take the extra weight. And yet there's no hot spots. Perfect rounding. There's no sub-hilt that if we're chopping it's going to batter our fingers. I don't like sub-hilts in pretty much any woods blades. Maybe all knives. I'm not a big sub-hilt fan usually. Nice handle though. Beautiful. Sheath. Also perfect. And we've seen this a lot. I reviewed it a lot. It is a Bolteron G-clip. And yes, it will lend to the philosophy of soldier knife. Albeit this won't fit into LBE. You may have to cut it, make it narrower. You get the picture. It could fit. But the fitment is awesome. You could carry it upside down. I don't know if I would do that running or anything without somehow affixing it to the sheath. Just an option. Waterproof though, drains perfectly, super lightweight. Bolteron, Kydex, plastic, Conceal-X by Cold Steel. My favorite sheaths, you know, for a non-traditional functional woods blade, you bet. Competitive options. Just a couple. I already showed you, I think, the Phil Wilson. Oh, I love this knife. It's lighter than the Bradley Bowie. Significantly lighter because it uses a thinner steel. Both of these, by the way, are made in Taiwan. Kind of expensive for Taiwanese produced blades, if you ask me. They are. This one is an S30V. Trailing point design. Such a beautiful knife. The Phil Wilson. I mean, they're both in the same genre. Stainless steel, middle-sized, middleweight camp knives. Here's one that's heavier. I still love this one. The Vox Rolled in traditional D2. Notice the size difference, by the way. Broader, bigger blade, and I called this one a mid-size. right? Do you remember that review about 2 or 3 years ago? Size comparison. This one's a lot heavier than both. And it's a lot thicker, that's why. Just an option. Also reviewed not too long ago, the KOA Bush Camp, and also in D2. Wow, D2 is making a showing here. KOA, that is Knives of Alaska, loves the D2 for good reason. Theirs is excellent. 12.5 ounces. That's with this super sick Red Hill Shees Kydex. I think this one is in .080 thickness. And there's a price reminder for myself. $125 for the KOA Bush Camp. Is it as elegant as either of these knives on the table? Absolutely not. It's all about first cool, Santoprene handle, riveted, functional though, especially with a not fancy jimping job. Ooh. Yep. But in terms of performance, out in the woods, I'd almost prefer this one just because it's a bigger blade and it would shear better, has more reach for batoning. Okay, and I actually like the rubber handle here, or the Santoprene handle, better said. Very comfortable. But it doesn't have second cool. It just doesn't. The looks, the pride of ownership, the quality levels that this one exhibits. It has two kinds of cool for sure. Value is up there. Like I said, even though it's produced in Taiwan, the Bradley Bowie is expensive. We'll ballpark it these days around $280. Whew, that's some money, dudes. I mean, with that amount of money, you can go out and buy a lot of blades. You can buy 2 of these. You know, think about it. What do you want? This one's pretty affordable too. And a lot more that I've thrown up there. I probably had to make a playlist, stainless steel camp knives, because there's not been a ton of them. Oh yeah, almost forgot this. And it's still around. The Temperance 2 in VG10 by Spyderco. Whip sound. Another cool knife. Size comparison. I would prefer either of these steels over that one, the VG10. I like VG10, but it's a softer steel, requires a lot more sharpening. It has very high rust resistance. So in a high moisture environment, that one would be the one to go with probably. Although the S30V is pretty sick too. Pretty excellent. I think that's S30V. I can't see it totally. But the Bradley Bowie, classic design. Beautiful woods blade. Excellent collectible. Probably not a tactical blade. There's a ton of options in my playlist that you can find that would do the job better. For instance, I think the Knives of Alaska Bush Camp would be a better tactical blade, at least with my jimping modification, and the Red Hills Sheath Kydex. But as a gorgeous two kinds of cool knife, it is a win and a Hall of Famer here in the KRV show. See ya.